and welcome to Fergie's Gun. My name's Nathan and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Ahmad.
Hi Nathan, how are you?
I've been better. I have been better. I woke up early this morning. I think it was 4:30 I woke up this morning. Checked the score and I was like, oh, okay. General apathy just washed over me. Didn't really expect anything. Obviously, Newcastle won 2-0 at Old Trafford. One of the terrible performances of the season. I then watched the extended highlights at around 10 o'clock. And that first half was about as abject as I've seen Manchester United play in the last 5 years. Maybe even longer. But the disappointing part about it is that it just doesn't seem to be stemming the tide. We just seem to be getting worse every single game, and I'm not entirely sure where to place the blame. The starting lineup, the starting 11 isn't going to strike fear into many teams in world football. I mean, we had a creaking midfield of Casemiro and Eriksen. Defence was like slow as hell. Martinez getting out-muscled and out-jumped as well. We just look abject. And I don't think we were this bad under Ten Hag. So I don't know what happens now. What happens now, mate?
I have no idea. I don't think we've been in this position for a long time. I think this is the first time since the 70s maybe that we've lost 3 or 4 games on the bounce. And yeah, we lost 3 games at home in a row. And yeah, it's not going to get any easier next week and the week after. Liverpool and Arsenal away. So we could be looking at like 5 losses in a row or even more. I lost count, to be honest, right now.
If I try to put a positive spin on these things, like they managed to raise themselves for the City game. City were abject, obviously, and they couldn't put us away. However, I feel like a Liverpool game and an Arsenal game, as bad as it could be 8 or 9-0, exactly as it could have been last night against Newcastle, especially in that first half. I think a win over either of those would put him back on the right track or put things back on the right track. But I just cannot see where a win is going to come from this team. And I kind of can't believe how bad things have got in the last 2-3 weeks. And Amorim keeps talking about this, like that the players aren't getting it. I'm sticking to my principles, and this is how we're going to play, and I'm not going to change it. But like I said last week, he's got to find wins from somewhere because we can't continue this slide. And even last night, that he was quoted in his press conference as saying, "Yeah, it is embarrassing to be talking about relegation, but that's where we are right now, and the players need a shock." I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but his words weren't exactly inspirational. They were brutally honest, but I don't feel like that type of talk is doing any good for anyone. And I think if that had come out of Ten Hag's mouth a couple of months ago, we'd have been absolutely banging down the doors of Carrington to try and drag him out of there, going, this isn't what we need. This is not the type of inspirational guy that we need. But in his actual favour, you look at that squad, it's dreadful. A mishmash of parts from previous managers. He also said that this team was playing a different way for 2 years under a different manager, and now they have to get their head around a different system. But at the same time, he's picking that team, and that first half was awful. Awful. And I think he's massively to blame for playing Xerxes in the first place. He got dog's abuse when he got taken off by the fans cheering him because he was playing dreadfully. But what's Amorim seeing in training that changes that from match day? Is it literally just is it literally just this is all I've got, so this is what I'm playing with?
Yeah, I think it is. Like when you look at the squad that we have, whether it's injuries, suspensions, or anything, like just the mug made me laugh.
What the merchandise from Fergie's gun? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like the only cheerful part we have. We need to laugh about something, I guess.
Yeah,
But
true.
yeah, getting back to Amram, yeah, I think I, I don't know if I can blame him, to be honest. On both points that you were mentioning, the fact that he came after the game talking about that it's embarrassing and that we feel it's not inspirational, and also on your other point that he is to blame for the players that he put out there, specifically Xerxes. Um, on the first point, I think everyone was sick of Ten Hag coming out after every loss saying that, okay, it's a process, and you've seen that we've won 2 trophies. It felt like he was not in touch with the reality. Like he was trying to convince himself and the fans that everything is fine when it was obviously not. So the fact that Amram is coming out and he's talking about he's just being blunt and he's saying that it is embarrassing. We are probably in a relegation fight for now, and that it is bad. Like he's saying what we all feel. So I think that's a positive because it shows me that yeah, he sees that everything is so bad and he's not gonna just sit there. He's gonna change something. Um, and on the other point that he was the players that he picked, I wasn't too upset at the fact that he played Xerxes because it was either him or Garnacho or Ashford, and neither of those. I mean, I would have preferred Xerxes over Garnacho and Rashford because we've seen what they've been doing, even though Xerxes hasn't been the best. Um, but what I was more upset about was the midfield. Why would you play Casemiro? Like we mentioned it last week when we were doing the preview for the game. We mentioned that we even if we played our best midfield, which was Ugarte and Maino or Ugarte and Bruno, compared to Newcastle's midfield, where we're gonna get outplayed, outrun, outmuscled, and this is exactly what happened. And especially if you play a 34-year-old Casemiro and Eriksen who's got no legs, then what do you expect to happen? That's exactly what happened. We could have been 4-0 down the first 30 minutes easily. They hit the post when Tonali should have scored. And yeah, it was that easy. They were, yeah, I was telling my friend it's like a training session for Newcastle. It was literally was they weren't even getting out of first gear. They were just playing their game, no pressure. Uh, they were very comfortable, and this is what happens when you play Casemiro and Eriksen. Why? Like my point is, again, we mentioned that. Why do you play players that you know aren't going to be there? Why don't you play, for example, Collier, who's gonna maybe you can depend on him later? Why do you play Casemiro? Why do you play Eriksen? It's obvious, and it's not like they've been playing well. They've not been playing well. Like why do you start them? That frustrated me because I think that was the main reason we started the game off the way we started, and Amram had to make a change that early in the game. And yeah, like it was very sad seeing what happened to Xerxes. I really didn't like it. Um, Especially like the fans cheering. Yeah, that was. I think that like epitomizes how far we've fallen as a club. I think that moment was exactly looking at how low the club got to. That was very very sad to see.
The only player that I can remember that happening to, where the fans were like cheering him coming off, and the huge embarrassment that caused afterwards, was Luke Chadwick. Like, I think it was an FA Cup tie, and he came on at half time and was taken off within about 10-15 minutes in a game that I think we went on to win in the end. But Luke Chadwick never really recovered from that, because it was, such a harsh thing to happen, and the fans were cheering it, when he was taken off. So to see that happen to Xerxes, a young player that's just joined us, it's depressing. But again, like, we haven't got options. We haven't got those players that should be playing ahead of him. This is the squad that we have right now. However, I do feel like if those players aren't doing what he expects them to be doing, And that's something that he keeps hammering home. You know, they're not getting my ideas. They're not quite ready for it. They need a shock and all of this. Like, you know, he's hammering them. As you say, why are you playing Casemiro? Why are you playing Eriksen? Why are you playing these players that don't really know? Why not give someone like Collier a chance to come in and develop a new idea and a new system where you're probably going to be a long-term benefit? And the only thing that I can think of is that it must be to do with putting them in the shop window. It must be. But every time you put them in the shop window, they dig out a performance like that. And I would say that the price to a Saudi club goes down by about 2 million every time. So it's not exactly doing you any favours, but it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you do or don't play those players. And Ten Hag felt that as he was heading out the door. Like, Newcastle fully deserved their win, and they could have been long gone in the first half because it was that bad. But when you start with a team like that and you start with players like that, what do you expect? What do you expect from that? I don't think he can get any better. And Amorim, I don't know. We're going to talk about him in a second. We're going to talk about a kind of like review of things, the positives and the negatives of things at the moment, but Amorim needs to arrest the slide on this, and he can't keep coming into press conferences and saying, "Oh, they're not getting my ideas," because that's on you then. If they're not getting your ideas, that's on you. He's already said he's not going to change his formation and his strategy. Okay, that's on you. But you need to pick players that are going to have a long-term future at Manchester United and are going to actually be able to do something. And Casemiro, Eriksen, these players are not going to do that for you. They're not going to.
I mean, it's like his hands are tied though. Like he came in mid-season in a period where there were like we have a game every 3 games, no international breaks. The only one he had was like when he first came in, and most of our players were away. And I think he keeps on mentioning it. I think he mentioned like that they've had only 4 training sessions with him. So he's not being able to implement his ideas. It's not possible to implement your ideas through games.
But I get that. I understand it. I totally get it, right? But we've watched. Is it Vitor Pereira? Is that his name? The guy that's just come in, Victor Pereira, who's just come in at Wolves. You know, they beat us, and then they drew at Spurs yesterday, I think, 2-2.
Yeah.
At their place. Like, you can't have excuses like that. He knew what he was coming into. Amorim knew what he was coming into. He would have seen that fixture list wasn't a surprise. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone knew it was going to be 2 days off and then another game. And then that's it. So he would have been told about this. The structure around him would have been like informed and well advised. Wilcox, Barada, Ashworth. I mean, I know he's not there anymore, but all of these people knew what was coming. And he still accepted the job, and he still took the job, and he still came in. I think the cracks are beginning to show. I think he handled his post-match press conference really well, but I do think there was an underlying factor there that was like, this job is immense, absolutely huge, and he never had an idea about how bad these players were. And the fact that he said there's not a chance of us making any signings in January unless players go out. He didn't say players go out. He said something that was alluded to players something. And I think he meant, you know, if we sell players, then we can bring players in. Then, you know, it's not going to get better with a January window either. Because we're going to float into January, February, March, just listlessly hoping to get a run together. And before the end of the season, or, you know, well, not even before the end of the season, by the end of January, we might be just about hovering above the relegation zone.
I mean, we're going to get to the section reviewing Amorim, like you said. Because, yeah, I do have a lot to say about that.
Okay, well, let's cut this. Do you have anything else to say about Newcastle, like, or is it already been said?
I mean, like it was just honestly, I didn't watch the last 20 minutes. I fell asleep because there was no point. But like it was so obvious what they were trying to do. Like they kept on spamming in crosses, targeting Lisandro. Whenever they have a cross, like Joe Linton, Isaac, anyone, just they go on Lisandro and they wait for the cross. That's how they scored their second goal. I think their first goal was like that as well. And even from corners, like this is the thing. Even from corner, Trippier tried to score directly from the corner twice in a row, and he almost did. So I don't know, like a lot of our games that we've been losing, in like past few weeks, we've been losing. We could have been playing well, but like once a set piece comes and we concede, then the whole game falls off. So I don't know, like why we're not working on set pieces. I don't know if it's a thing. Even like last night, we had De Ligt, we had Maguire, so you can't say like, oh, okay, like we had small players on the pitch. Casemiro, I don't know what they're doing. Like I don't know, is it something like mentality wise? Is it something that they just can't cope with it? It's so weird. Like every team has a blueprint to play against us, and we can't seem to stop it. And yeah, there's like I can't see how anything's going to improve from that aspect going forward.
Well, I think you kind of touched on the point there, but Amorim's kind of said that they need a shock, but the shock that they're getting, or the shock that he's getting, is how fragile these players are. As soon as the chips are down, they lose it completely. And like you say, yeah, they are being targeted, but they're being targeted with the most industrial football ever. Shoot from a corner, get the crosses into the box. It's not like they're like it's not like it's tactical. It's really basic stuff. Just run harder, tackle harder, try and cross it in as soon as you can, and you'll beat them. And they're so fragile. They're waiting for something, almost waiting for something to go wrong. And this group of players might be the worst squad that Manchester United have had in the last 10 years because there are no leaders in it, and we keep talking about that. But anyway, I think that's enough with the Newcastle game. Let's get on to where part of the problem lies, and that's with the gaffer. Obviously, we're not trying to be unfair with this, but I think it's a month into the job, or just a little over a month, and it's worth kind of analysing where Amorim is with this Manchester United team, with his conduct in press conferences. Just everything about the man. I know it's difficult, and I know this is one of the hardest things for a Manchester United manager. I don't think they realise just how big of a task it is when they come in, and I think it really does drain the life out of them. You've seen some of the pictures floating around where he looks like a ghost, basically like a shell of his former self, all happy and smiling at Sporting when things are going well. Or worth noting that his successor has been sacked, by the way, at Sporting. But he was happy. He's come into this job, and now he just looks like every game he looks like he's seen a murder. So it's difficult. It's a difficult one. But we thought we'd try and review the good things and the bad things about Amorim's reign so far. And we'll start with the positives, because I think it's difficult to just keep talking about negatives all the time. But what do you think he's doing well at the moment then?
I think the first thing I can think of is that he has a style of play, like a distinguished style of play that going forward, if you recruit properly, you have a chance of actually building a functional team, in my opinion. We've seen his system work at Sporting. We've also seen like other managers use the same system, or almost the same. For example, Xabi Alonso at Leverkusen using the same system. Simeone Inzaghi using the same system. So you know that if the system has the right players, then you have a chance of competing. That's one of the positives. We've had some good results. I mean, I've seen us go to the Emirates, to the Etihad, and actually play well compared to when we used to go there with Ten Hag, for example. So these are some positives, but Yeah, results-wise, I think it's been awful. I think it's been awful. I think he's had 2 wins in the league only, City and Everton. And yeah, we're gonna get to the negatives, but like
You've skipped ahead.
I can't
They were
mathematically.
coming up fast. Yeah, they
All
were
right,
coming
let
up
me
fast.
continue with the positives. Yeah, the
Okay.
fact that, for example, he dropped Rashford, and to me this is a positive because I don't think any other manager had the guts to do it. Even though we've seen Rashford has been awful for the past 18 months. Um, so yeah, these are the things I can think of right now, to be honest.
I think I'll add to that with I do agree with the style of play, and he's got his principles about exactly how he wants to do it. Even in his post-match press conference last night after the Newcastle game, he was saying that, this is the only way. It's this way. This is how I know how to play, and it is this way. And, this is the type of thing that got him the job in the first place, is a man that's not going to bend to the will of the players. He's going to do what's necessary to build an era-defining squad and an era-defining team that does challenge for league titles. It might be the championship next season, but he'll be challenging for it. The way that he handles the media is really good. I think he's very astute in, like, he knows that those questions are coming. He does his homework. He knows which publications are going to ask the tougher questions, and he handles it. He handles it really well. So you can't really say that that's a negative against him. And like you say, we talked about this before, but he's very honest in his assessment of how things are going. Now, this can be seen as a negative as well, but he's not painting over it. He's letting the fans know that this is the current state of things. Whereas Ten Hag would say this is a process and we need to trust it and things like that. He's saying this is bad. We are bad, and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. And the fact that he said after that win at City, I think it was, or the win at Everton, he said a storm is coming. He must have looked at that squad and gone, "Oh my god, like they're worse than I thought they was going to be." And he knew that this period of time was coming. But I don't want to see him change his principles to try and get the wins, because I think that's what saw Ten Hag lose his job. I think that was one of the keys to it. If you're going to trust the process, you've got to keep with the process. You've got to stick with what you need to do. So for better or worse, he needs to get those players drilled on what it is that he expects of them. But I think the only way he's going to be able to do that, and this folds neatly into the negatives, so I'm gonna go straight on. But he needs to, as we said earlier, he needs to start bringing in players from the youth team, from the under 21s, that he feels like he can build a squad around. That he feels like if they're not going to be first team players, at least give them that experience to try and prove themselves. At least give them that experience to try to stake a claim for it, because they'll be hungry for that position now. Someone coming in from the under 21s and trying out now, or the under 18s, and sliding into this team, can they really do any worse than Xerxes right now? Can they really do any worse than Ericsson and Casemiro chasing shadows against Newcastle? I don't think they can. And that's something that he's going to have to deal with, because if he doesn't do this, and if he sticks with I'm just going to play these star players, or the players that I know, then it will be his downfall. And I know this sounds like madness, but I can see him getting fired because of it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, it's a result-based business, football, especially for managers. You can twist it, you can shape it any way you want, any form you want. At the end, it's results. The results are the thing that decides whether a manager is doing well or not. I think like we said, like we were checking before the second, we were checking when his first game was, and it was almost a month ago. But because of the amount of games that we've had in that month, it feels like it's been 3-4 months. I think he's gonna need time. He's gonna need time. I wouldn't blame Amorim as much as I would blame the board. Because to be fair to Amram, he when they came to him when he was at Sporting and they told him we wanted to take over, he told them, I want to come in next summer. I don't want to come now because I need time with the players and I won't have it now. And they gave him the ultimatum: either you come now or we're gonna hire someone else. He chose to come. So I would blame the board. The board could have, for example, kept Van Nistelrooy on up until the end of the season and then brought him in, and then he wouldn't have this dark cloud over him the way he has now. Even like any good reputation that he had before he came in, I feel like it's slowly diminishing because of what's happening right now. And yeah, it's on the board. They had two international breaks where they could have sacked Ten Hag, and that was a period where we didn't have a game every 3 days. They could have taken the decision then, and he would have maybe it would have turned out different. They could have sacked Ten Hag in the summer and replaced him and brought in Amorim, and they could have turned out different. They would have recruited the players for Amorim, not for Ten Hag. So it's just a mess at board level. It's unfair. Like the thing with Amram, like or any manager, they're the one to always take the blame. They're always at the forefront of anything, and it's unfortunate. But he knows that. He knows that, and I feel he has the capability to deal with it. He has the personality to deal with it. Uh, and yeah, like you said, he said from day one that either even after the Ipswich game, he said either I change my style and just like chase results, even if it means like me changing my style. But like 1 year from now, we're gonna still have the same issues, or I can stick to it. We're gonna have tough times, but in a year you're gonna see the difference. So I think yeah, like I said, he's very honest. He's very honest with himself, which is very important. Um, and yeah, I just unfortunately I felt like maybe January might have been a month. Maybe like we can get in like 2 or 3 players, and it would probably change the course of the season because the squad desperately needs that. But yeah, they're saying that they're not going to get anyone, so I can't expect anything different from now until the end of the season. It's going to stay like this. Uh, I hope we get like an easier run of fixtures to maybe just pick up momentum and pick up results. Um, but yeah, it's gonna stay like this for a while. And like I said, again, I repeat this on every podcast. I'm going into every game this season just for the sake of watching and not expecting anything. A win is a bonus. And yeah, that's how it's gonna stay until the end of the season because logic logic states that there is no other reason for me. There's no reason for me to think otherwise. So yeah, let's see. I don't know. Like
I
there are
think,
many negatives to be honest.
yeah, exactly. And I think, like, obviously we're not hounding him out and saying Amorim out is like a very, very knee-jerk reaction to things. And I saw some people mentioning it on social media last night, saying obviously that we weren't this bad under Ten Hag. And I said that myself, this team aren't suddenly unable to play football. They're unable to play his football. Now, again, this goes back to being flexible. And if you're going to be a totalitarian and say this is the only way that we're going to be playing football, I get that. I understand it. And I think sticking to your principles is very, very big in football. However, will Ineos allow that type of authority in Ruben Amorim to take them down into the relegation zone? Or do you think they will allow him to get the team relegated so that we go through the bad times to get to the good times? Because I'm absolutely convinced that if we even touch the like below that line of the relegation zone, he's gone. 100%. Because they will not want to miss out on the Premier League money. They are desperate to keep money in.
Uh, no, I don't think so. I mean, he might get the sack if we actually get relegated, but otherwise, no, I don't think they would sack him because it's obvious even to like a person who does not watch football that the issue is not the manager. It's obvious. It's the players, it's the board. The manager is the least of our worries. The manager, even especially if you get someone who had recent success. Like, we're not talking about someone who had success, for example, 10 years ago, and we're hoping for him to replicate. He had success recently, so it's not possible that he suddenly becomes a bad manager. So I don't think they would
Okay, let
sack
me
him, and they would
let,
they
let
would
me
look
ask
very
you.
stupid if they do.
Yeah, exactly. But they're not they're not below doing something like they're not above doing something like that because look at the Ashworth situation, and the continued like penny pinching from the rest of the areas of Manchester United. What three things then, or what things? It doesn't have to be don't have to put a number on it. What things do you think he needs to change over the next 4 or 5 months to right the ship?
Starting off, I think he should stop playing players that are not going to be there. This is number one. I think you need to inject some sort of new blood into the team. Even for example, you have Kukonki, the centre back that we have. He's, I think, 16 or 17 years old. He's been on the bench a few times. He's been training with the first team. He's 6'5". He's left-footed. He's huge. This is a guy, and he has a lot of potential. So this is a player you can actually just try. You can probably, and he might actually be saving you millions because we're gonna have to fill in that left centre back role. So you have to start integrating these players like Gonki, Collier. I don't know, bring in, maybe give Chidobe some minutes. This is number one. Number two is, I just feel that he needs a run of fixtures that are favorable to him. He needs like it's not possible. Like, I always say, football is like 90% confidence, and if your
Yeah.
confidence is that low as we are right now, and we have a game every 3 games, every 3 days, and we're going to Liverpool away, City away, Arsenal away, even playing Newcastle home, Forest home, like these are tough fixtures. Uh, it's very difficult. Like, you need something special to pick you up from that rut, and we don't have that. Um, so yeah, like these are the few, and like he just has to show that he he's improving. Like, as a team, we're improving, playing his way, and that with certain additions, we can improve next season. I think these are the main things that he can improve for now. Like, something that's in his hands. Otherwise, it's on the board.
In terms of the fixtures, I was just checking them out as you was talking, but so it's Liverpool obviously, which we'll come on to shortly. Then it's Arsenal in the FA Cup, which is more than likely two defeats there. Um, and then that run of fixtures that you were talking about, it comes up from January 17th. So they're all winnable games, and they should all be games that we should be going into expecting a result. So it's Southampton at home on the 17th, followed by Brighton at home on the 19th, which, if you remember, that was one of the games that we were going to try and go and watch next season. Probably won't waste the money on going travelling back to the UK for that. Then we've got Rangers on the 24th at home, Fulham away. Who's FCSB? Who's
Yeah,
FCSB?
Steaua Bucharest.
Ah, right, okay. So then we've got them away on the 31st, Palace at home, Spurs away, and Everton away, and then Ipswich at home. And that run of fixtures up until the 27th of February, how many of those do you think we should be winning? Because if he's serious, or sorry, if we're serious as like Manchester United fans, I think we win a handful of those with the current squad that we have. If we don't make improvements throughout the January window, I don't think we can win all of those games. They are winnable games, maybe 3, 4 seasons ago, but now they'll all fancy it. They'll all fancy coming to Old Trafford, and they'll all fancy bloody in the nose of Manchester United. So I don't know. How many of those do you see us winning?
I think, like, logically we should be winning most. I think tough ones are going to be Fulham away, Spurs away, but the home games, they're not that tough. We should be winning them, especially the Europa League games, Southampton home, Ipswich home. Yeah, these are games we should be winning, and I think we will. I know, like, I'm realistic. I try to be as realistic as possible. I try not to be like deluded and just just convince myself of things that are not real. But yeah, I think we should be winning even with the squad we have right now. Um, but like players need to start picking up form. Like individual players, they need to start picking up form because the way they're playing right now. Like last night watching the play, like Hoyland again. My God, like he can't control. He can't. The ball comes to him, he can't control it. He can't do anything. He makes a run when the pass doesn't come. He just lifts his hand in the air, acting all petty. Like it's just silly. It's just silly. Like this is not. You're not doing anything. And when you get a chance, like the one he did, he misses. So like, what do you want?
Yeah.
I mean, like this is what frustrates. Like we need to change our strikers in the summer. If you want Amorim to succeed or any manager to succeed, you need to give him a proper striker. I'm not hearing any of this Hoyland is promising like stuff. I'm not hearing Xerxes he was doing well at Bologna. Cut your losses. Try to sell Xerxes in January, Hoyland in the summer. I don't care. Just get someone who can actually score, who can take chances. But like this is ridiculous because if Hoyland scores that, then we could be talking about a different result because this changes the momentum of everything. It changes the momentum of the game, the season. Like these are the moments that you need. But if you want someone who scores one out of 5, 6 chances, then you have no hope. You have no hope. You're looking at relegation. Even relegation teams have strikers that are actually clinical. You look at Liam Delap last night. He was unbelievable against Chelsea. He was doing everything. Like I'm not talking about striker that only scores. Liam Delap, he actually scores. He got an assist. He holds up play. He links up play. Like why is it so difficult for a club the size of Manchester United to get someone who's actually proven in the Premier League to lead the line? Because this is ridiculous. Like depending on strikers like this, any manager is gonna get the sack if he depends on someone like this. Any manager.
I mean, do we even need to preview the game? Is that a thing that we even need to do right now? Do we need to preview Liverpool when we know exactly what's going to happen?
I mean, we shouldn't preview, and I think the team shouldn't show up next week. I think that would be best for everyone.
It's going to be. I mean, Liverpool. There's probably never a good time to meet Liverpool, but I think like right now they're absolutely flying and they're smashing teams up. They destroyed West Ham 5-0 the other day, and they kind of look unstoppable this season, which is it grates on the fact that Arne Slot came in and has got this team winning. They look great, and I think I have a few Liverpool supporting fans that were a little bit worried about Slot coming in because Klopp was such a big character at Liverpool. They were worried about him being followed up in the same way a little bit like with Ferguson leaving. They didn't want to be in this turmoil, but Slot's come in. He's got them singing. He's got them doing exactly what he wants them to do. And hindsight's a beautiful thing, but if we'd have just let Ten Hag leave at the end of last season and brought in a replacement, it just does make me wonder what could have happened. Like how we would have started this season with a new manager in charge had we not brought in Van Nistelrooy and Rene Hacker and a load of coaches that we've already binned off. Had we not waited around for Dan Ashworth's data team to come in, like would we have had Amorim by now? Would he have been able to use the summer to get players in and out? I know it's hindsight, I know, but it does great. So now we're basically looking at them potentially winning a record equaling 20 titles, unless we can arrest that with a stunning performance at Anfield in a few days' time. But I can't see anything other than a defeat. What about you?
I agree. I agree. Like, there's no reason for me to think otherwise. Yeah, like you said, Liverpool, they've been playing really well. I think Arne Slot has got them like playing really, really well. It's impressive to be honest. I didn't expect that personally. I think a lot of people didn't. We all thought they're gonna have some kind of dip after Klopp leaves. But they've done well. Even though I hate Liverpool, like I think definitely the team that I hate most. But I actually like Slot. Unfortunately, I do. I respect him. Like, I think what he's doing is great with Liverpool. He seems very level-headed. Um, any other manager could have just crumbled. Could have just kept on making excuses, especially for the fact that Liverpool didn't bring anyone in the summer. Their only signing was Federico Chiesa, and we haven't seen him. So he worked with what he has. Also, to be fair, you were saying that you wonder what could have happened if we changed managers in the summer, but I honestly believe if we got in Klopp, if we got in Arteta, if we got in Pep, if we even got in Sir Alex, nothing was going to change. Nothing was going to change. As long as you have this bunch of players, doesn't matter who the manager is. It won't matter at all because yeah, these players are, in my opinion, they're a hopeless case. So
I agree with what you're saying, but we might not have signed Xerxes, for example. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
if Amorim came in, he probably would have come in with, right, okay, Gyökeres is 3 levels above these strikers that we've currently got, so I'm going to bring him in. Rashford doesn't want to be here. Okay, he's sold. Like, do you know what I mean? I know that
yeah,
Ashworth and Wilcox oversaw all of that, but I just think it needed a manager in place to be assessing the squad like Amorim's doing, literally on the job, and then basically go, right, these guys, no, let's get them gone. But now we've got this mishmash of players that have been left over. They never had any team unity, which is, I never want to praise Liverpool, but they've got team unity. They don't need to bring other players in because they know what they're doing day in, day out. They know when what they have to do. They know what their positions are. They know what their system is. And it does make you wonder how much of that is Arne Slot's influence and how much of that is the players just being good and knowing what they're supposed to do as a team. Whereas our guys are just like looking around. Oh, I need Cobby to do something. I need him to chase back. I need Ugarte to put a tackle in there. Oh, and I need someone else that's going to be slotting in a goal. Like I just the comparison is stark. It's chalk and cheese essentially, and it could be a bloodbath at Anfield, and they'll be right up for it as well. They'll be
yeah,
right up for that game, and our boys won't because they're weak, soft boys.
I know. I mean, like we've last season we went into the game at Anfield, almost. I wouldn't say like exact similar circumstances, but they were similar. Liverpool were also like they were challenging for the league. They were on a run. They looked unstoppable. Salah was scoring every other game, and we were awful again. We went into the game and everyone, yeah, we were like, hopefully it's not 5-0 or 7-0 like the season before. But yeah, we got a result. But the difference is that, for example, last season we had Varane, for example, who was unbelievable that game. Like
Yeah.
he was every single cross coming in, he was the one to get his head on it. Yeah, it's just he was using his experience. I think that was one of his best games for United. Right now, I can't say the same for the players that we have. But like, yeah, on Liverpool, I think the difference is that they have a stable structure that's been there for a lot of years, and you can you can switch and change around them, but they have this base which is like Alisson, Van Dijk, Arnold, Robertson, Salah. These are players that are not changing. You bring in McAllister, you bring in Soboslai, you bring in whoever you want to bring in. You just bring in players who have legs, who can run, and who are solid. And this is the result you get. A team that looks unstoppable. There's you try to find ways to beat them. It's very tough. It's very tough, especially when you have players like Salah in the form that he is in. It's unbelievable, to be honest. And the other strikers, Gakpo scoring, Luis Diaz scoring, and their defense is yeah, it's probably the strongest in the league. With Alisson, who in my opinion is one of the best goalkeepers in Premier League history, top 3 easily. And
That's
yeah,
a
Van
big
Dijk.
shout. Hang on, wait. Hang on. Let's go back. Who's the other two in your top goalkeepers for top three goalkeepers in the Premier League?
Yeah, definitely Schmeichel and Peter Cech and
Oh,
Alisson probably.
Not Edwin. I'd put Edwin above
I love
Allison.
I love Van der Sar. I love Van der Sar. But I think Alisson, for me, he's unbelievable. I think even when Liverpool were in situations that they should be going on a like losing run and their confidence was so low, Alisson was always there to pick them up. He was unbelievable, and he's still unbelievable. He's great. I love Van der Sar. I think he would. You can. I wouldn't say like it's a set in stone top three, but I wouldn't argue against Alisson being in the top three. I think top two is set in stone. Peter Cech and Schmeichel. You can't argue that. But yeah, the third one is up for grabs. Alisson, Van der Sar. I think there are a few others, but I think yeah, Alisson and Van der Sar are the main two. But like yeah, when you have someone like that and Van Dijk, a lot of people also like try to make him as the best centre back in Premier League history, which no way, not for me, not even top three. Um, yeah, and Arnold, Trent, what Trent is doing this season, it's just depressing watching Liverpool games and then going back to watching United games. It's honestly depressing. Like we're so deprived of that of like of quality that when we watch Trent and Liverpool in general, yeah, it's just I don't know, like it's just makes you sick, you know?
Yeah, it's making me sick giving them so much praise right now on a Manchester United podcast. But I get what you're saying, 100%. But I think one of the things, just to switch things around slightly, I think one of the big things about this game is that it could be a catalyst. If there's a result, a positive result out of this game for Manchester United and Amorim, this could be the catalyst to move things forward again. Because what better than to get a result at Anfield against high flying Liverpool and come away with a point, come away with 3 points. That would set them up for a very good run for the month of January. I know, as unlikely as that sounds, I have to
No,
remain optimistic. Okay,
I know.
there has to be
I'm
some
not I'm not
optimism
against
in
that.
here.
I'm not against that, but like the
Call
thing
it
is like we saw
delusional. I know.
no no
I
I
know.
wouldn't be
I
I
know.
wouldn't be surprised I wouldn't be surprised if we go on and win at Anfield. The first time we went there in I think 8 years. But what I also know is if we win at Anfield, I can see us losing to Southampton at home the following week. That's the
Yeah.
thing with this club. Like we won at City, and then we've lost every single game ever since then. So
Yeah.
it's and we always mention that these players seem to always pump themselves up for these big games. But when it comes
Yeah.
to the games that should be routine wins, that's when they struggle. And you need to win those routine games more than those big games.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if you go on and win. I would be very happy for two reasons. Because like it's the first time we win at Anfield for so long. And number two is like I really hope we stop their title challenge, which I doubt, even if they lose, because there's no one else trying to win the title, to be honest.
Very true.
Um, but yeah,
Well,
like
that,
I
that's
still
that's the thing. Sorry, that's the thing about this season as well. Like Chelsea got beat by Ipswich the other
yeah,
day. Like they're a
I
decent
don't know.
side. They're no Ipswich are no mugs. They're doing well. Chelsea were on a really good charge up until a couple of weeks ago, and then the wheels have kind of fallen off again. And everyone's like, "Oh, Maresca, is he really always cracked up to be?" But this is the thing with the Premier League this season, where if we win the next game and results go in our favour, I think we're up to 11th, which is not great, but that's just from 14th to 11th. That's the jump that we can make, and I think from there to the top six is only like another like 3-4 points away. It's just this is one of those seasons that's just crazy. You can't really predict the results that's going on. Apart from Liverpool's and Arsenal's, that's it. You can't really predict it. But if we mount a challenge like you say, we could be back up the table, and I think it could be a catalyst, or it would be a fantastic catalyst to get any sort of positive result at Anfield. With that being said, what do you think the score will be?
I don't know. I'm just yeah. Realistically, it's gonna be probably 3-0 Liverpool. You haven't scored in the league ever since the City game. And Liverpool seem to be scoring every chance they got. And yeah, I don't know, 3-0, even maybe 4-0. You?
I think it could be a cricket score. I think it could be 5 or 6. If I'm honest, I think
I really
it
hope
could be
not.
an absolutely torrid time. With that said, though, who's your FPL pick for this week?
No one. I got no one.
No one.
Why
I've got
would you?
one.
Who?
I've got one. I would triple captain Salah.
Okay, yeah. That's a good one.
That's what I would
Actually, no.
use.
Yeah, generally, if someone wants to like just have a boost, they should triple captain Salah against United.
Yeah.
He has like 2 goals, 1 assist written all over this game.
Depressing. Okay, then there we go. End of another podcast. Seems quite depressing, that one again. I think will continue to be so until Amorim and Manchester United do kind of right the ship, because that's all we've got right now. That's all we've got. The one thing I did want to say though, before we do finish, was the Rashford situation. What did you make of him being on the bench last night? Because again, is it shop window style stuff? If so, why didn't they play him? I don't really understand it now. It's getting a bit weird.
I think it's pointless. It was pointless for him to be on the bench. The reason was that we have many injuries and suspensions, but I think Amram, he put it perfectly after the game. He said that he cares about the team, the media cares about Rashford. So yeah, I think he was actually he doesn't care what people think. He was thinking what's best for the team. And I don't think Rashford was going to do anything if he came on, so he just kept him on the bench.
Fair enough. Well, we'll speak to you again. This is the last podcast of 2024. The next one will be in 2025. I appreciate everyone that's been listening so far, and the ones that have been commenting and liking the stuff that we put out on YouTube. We'll speak to you again after the Liverpool game, which will hopefully be a positive result, right? Right? Praying to the football gods, please. Anything?
Even the football gods have no. They can't do anything worse.
Oh, God. Okay. Yeah, that is true. All right. Well, we'll speak to you again in the new year. Thanks for listening.